Alright, enough with the history lesson. Let's take a look at the different people and entities you'll be working with to fund a merchant. So, who's who? Well, let's start with you. ISO. Most likely you are starting up your own ISO or are working for an ISO. ISO stands for Independent Sales Organization. The acronym was actually borrowed from the merchant processing industry and it just stuck. The ISO or ISO is going to be made up of sales reps and sales managers who are going to be searching for merchants who are in the market for some working capital. Now, the merchant can be a sole proprietorship, a partnership with multiple owners, or a limited liability company with one or more owners. These are the most common. And of course, you have the funding company. Sometimes they are referred to as banks. I am not a fan of that, so for this course, we will always refer to them as funding company or FC. These are the folks with the cash and decide whom to lend or advance their money to. They are made up of management, who sets forth the underwriting guidelines and enforces them, underwriters, who analyze the risk involved with lending any particular merchant capital using the guidelines set forth by management. The funding company is also likely to have an ISO relations department. The ISO relations department is kind of like a buffer between the ISOs and the underwriters. Most funding companies do not want their underwriters being bothered by sales reps all day or having them being sold on why they should fund their merchant. Funding company just wants them focused on underwriting files. Now, most funding companies will also have their own sales force that will try to find and fund merchants. They may have the same name as the funding company, or it is also possible they will have a different name and act as an independent sales organization within the parent funding company. They will always give the parent funding company the first look at any deal. If the funding company does not like the deal, the internal ISO can send it to other funding companies who may be interested, which at that point makes them an ISO. So, how do they all fit together? Well, the ISO will contact the merchant, and if they are interested in capital, they will gather the necessary documents from them to find them an interested funding company. The ISO will then send the documents to the funding company, and if the funding company is interested, they will work directly with the ISO, who is going to be working on behalf of the merchant to find them capital. So the ISO is effectively a buffer in between the merchant and the funding company. If everything goes well, the funding company likes the deal, they will send the funds directly to the merchant. This is called funding. Shortly thereafter, the funding company will pay a commission directly to the ISO for bringing them the interested merchant and working with the merchant through the entire funding process. The merchant then makes payments or remits directly to the funding company over the course of the term. Alright, that completes Unit 1 of Module 1. In Unit 2 of this module, we will dive into factor rates and also go over the different methods of paying back a loan or MCA.